Welcome back to No Buzzwords. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to check us out also on Spotify. If you're listening to us on Spotify, also please check us out on YouTube and Facebook page coming. So if you haven't liked and subscribed, it really helps us grow. That'd be awesome. Today in studio, we have Port Orchard's very own Kelly Rogers from Tae Ryong Taekwondo. Welcome, Kelly.
Hi, thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks for coming on.
So how long have you been in Port Orchard?
Since 2012. So what is that? 2012? 12?
It's a while. 13 years. Oh, it's 13
Yeah.
years. Yeah, because my anniversary is coming up in 2012.
Nice.
We are
13
in
years.
2025. Wow.
Cool deal. What brought you to Port Orchard?
The military.
Okay. And that I'm assuming the Navy,
Yes.
being from
Yes.
the area? Okay.
The Reagan was put in the yards.
Okay.
So.
And did you guys, and when you came to Port Orchard, was that like we love it here, we're going to stay, or was it kind of like a forced?
It was a forced. It was
Okay.
very forced. I
Did you
did come up
from
kicking and
California?
screaming, yes, from Southern California.
But would you go back now? It's Southern California.
Well, I mean, yes and no. Like, I love sunshine. So
Yes.
I kind of don't like rain at all. At all. I know. I know. I was like, the only place... I had a friend that lived up in Paulsbo. Came to see her years ago. And it was the most beautiful week. And she said, see? Like, you should move up
Right.
here. And I was like, yeah, I don't think so. Like, Washington is the one place I really don't ever want to live. And
Shouldn't have
moved
said
up
it.
here.
You jinxed yourself.
I did. We were only supposed to be here for, I think, 14 to 16 months. But as things happened, I wound up stuck here. So, but now I've made it home. Like, I mean, there are some great reasons why I enjoy being here. Whether I retire here, that depends on my children.
Right.
So,
Right. Well, I feel like that's the story of so many people. Is they end up coming here on some Navy stop, and then end up staying for various reasons. But yeah. So when you came up here in 2012, had you at that point started Taekwondo? Have you been doing Taekwondo since then, or have
I've
you
actually been doing
California?
it for about, I kept saying 20 years, but I started 3 weeks. I started in February, Valentine's Day, and that was 19 years ago.
Okay, and that was in Southern California.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, and when you started that was that with? Is it okay? Correct me. Is it's Tae Ryong, not Tae Ryong?
Tae
correct?
Ryong.
Tae Ryong. So, did you start with Tae Ryong
I
down
did.
in Southern California?
Yep. Yes.
What's their background? Aren't they like?
Hold on. I'm uninitiated here. What is Tae Ryong, the brand of Taekwondo?
Tae Ryong is our studio name.
Okay.
Yes.
And you opened it in California? And
I
then-
did not open it. No.
Oh, okay.
Grandmaster Shin
Okay.
opened it in 1982.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're an extension of his.
I am. I bought the name. So up here in Port Orchard, Tae Ryong, it's 100% mine.
Okay.
I put myself under them as far as we try to work together as far as an organization. And
You're passing down what was
Correct.
passed to you from Master
Shin.
Shin. That's cool.
So is it kind of like I know the jujitsu side of things. It's I think we call it a lineage. Is that what you guys call it in Taekwondo too? Is kind of
I think that would be.
okay. So and they're Tae Ryong, weren't they the ones that brought Taekwondo to the Olympics, or were they a part of that?
They,
Somehow?
I believe that they were a part of that. I know Master Shin was on the Olympic delegate team.
Still.
Was.
Okay.
Yes. But he just got honored with becoming the president of Kukiwon in the United States on the West Coast.
Okay.
So Kukiwon, if you don't know what that is, it's the
One
headquarters
cookie
of,
as opposed to two?
yeah, exactly.
Sorry. No.
Kukiwon would be one.
I just want one.
But it's the headquarters of Taekwondo, and it's in Seoul, Korea.
Wow.
But it's in Korea. So here in the United States, I imagine what they're trying to do is keep everybody functioning more together under. You might want to delete all of that, but just making sure that it's more unified, I would imagine.
Connected with Korea.
With Korea.
Yeah, more
And
directly.
the United States is quite large, so there are five regions, and Grandmaster Shin is the Western region, the president. So that's quite an honor for him. It brought him out of retirement, actually.
Wow. So what is he chiefly trying to preserve in? What are the things that are likely to slip away if you're not working the way that they are to kind of stay connected to the root of things?
He's a traditional martial artist, so he doesn't want one aspect of the art to overshadow all of the others. That's my understanding of it.
So back, if everything's linked back to Korea, is everything here that's done in the United States with Taekwondo, I mean, like going to your studio versus any other studio, are you going to see similarities or is there a lot of differences between?
I think you'll see a lot of similarities, but I think every master will bring their own
interpretation or
well, not I would imagine interpretation, but their gift as well.
okay.
You know, I think me being an older woman and a mom brings something different to the mat that other studios might bring.
Interesting. So how often do you go back down to California to train or to do anything else with your old studio down there?
I go down and test. So recently, this past fall, I went and tested for my 5th degree down so that Grandmaster Shin could judge me.
Wow.
Awesome.
And then they're coming up here in May to judge black belt testing, and
that'll be cool.
We're going to try and start doing different training opportunities where maybe somebody comes up and does a training here for our students. So
How when you bring a student here in Port Orchard up to the black belt level, are you testing them here, or is that something like where you do get kind of everybody involved in California as well?
I do test them up here. However, Cutter, I think you know who Cutter is. He went down with me and tested with me in California, and they were all offered that opportunity. But the cost of it, isn't necessarily for everybody.
Yeah. Is that, and that's the cost of it just going down to California?
The cost of, yes.
Or, okay, not necessarily
like
just the
making
cost
the
of,
trip down there and all of that.
okay, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Plane ticket, food,
but that's why,
lodging.
like, I'm bringing Grandmaster Shin and Master Moore, who was my first teacher, up here for this testing.
Okay.
So
How long are they going to be up here?
I think just for the weekend.
We're gonna show them a good time in Port Orchard.
Yeah. Yes.
Port Orchard.
Maybe Seattle.
There's some fun stuff to do in Port Orchard.
There is.
What do you think he'd think of Seattle?
Oh, they've been here before.
okay.
He loved it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I had some cousins come over. People complain about the homelessness in Seattle, and I've kind of like gotten used to it. I feel like it's better than it has been.
It is better
lately.
Yes.
But one of my cousins from a distant cousin from Slovakia is up here working on his like PhD in some kind of science, and he got a grant, and University of Washington is the best facility to do what he wants, and he had his wife and kid come up for like 3 months and stay, and he was just like, yeah, this is maybe the worst city I've ever been in. He's like, it's terrible for families. Yeah, I love visiting. I love going for a Mariners game.
Oh, I love Seattle.
I love going over there to get some food. But yeah, he's had a very dreary experience, and I think part of it was like his wife and daughter were out here, and he said that they got really depressed because there's just nothing to do for families, kids and moms. It's kind of like if you have a kid as opposed to a dog, you'll be bored in Seattle. But so
unless you can get outside.
Mixed reviews.
Like if you can get outside,
yes,
you know, it's beautiful. There's great parks you can go to.
Yeah.
But as a mom, I didn't like taking my kids to the park when it rained.
Yeah.
That was not my fun.
You know, that's funny. My mother-in-law is full Irish as well. And she makes a big deal of St. Patty's Day. Always cooks the most delicious
Corned beef.
corned beef hat, yes. And
Safeway's got it on sale on the end caps right now.
Yeah.
Black eyed peas.
And she has the same issue with rain. She hates it. She gets, you know, seasonal depression. And then it's not that bad. She's not like a depressed person. She's pretty cheery. But and she also came up from Southern California.
My mother-in-law is also cheery.
Is she also Irish? No, she's not Irish.
No, she's there. I don't know. I'll have to ask my wife. She's blonde.
Yeah, there's a lot of crossover though.
I'm actually from Virginia, though.
Huh?
Before California?
I grew up in Virginia.
So, what East Coast versus West Coast? Do you have a preference?
I love the West Coast.
Okay.
I think the East Coast is very busy. There's a lot of history. Love that. But the West Coast seems a bit more chill.
Yeah.
I have a theory. I feel like, and I don't know, most of my mom's family is East Coast, New York, and now they're kind of Boston, Massachusetts, and Virginia. I feel like the further west you go, the less family-oriented the
I
culture
agree.
is. Like, families are just not tight-knit over here for some reason.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just got something to do with the nature of how we settled the West, or if it's just something in the water that because, you know, my East Coast family, they keep up. They see
it's
each
the
other
coffee.
offer.
Something
Oh
in the
yeah, right.
coffee.
Something in the coffee makes it just like I don't want to text Dad today. No thanks.
Yeah.
So, but that's something that you've noticed too, coming from Virginia to California.
Well, I mean, just my life experience. I was extremely close with extended family.
Right.
And for me, moving out west, everybody in my family I have one cousin in California, and everybody else is on the East Coast. So my kids don't have that family experience.
Was that moved because of the military as well?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that was my experience. All of my extended family stayed on the East Coast, or some of them were down south, and yeah, just not as connected.
But it very much, I mean, especially the Northeast. Like, I mean, they're big family. I mean, they are like, they stand with one another. They get together on Sundays.
Right.
It is a traditional thing.
Yeah, and I feel like in Washington, you can have extended family around, but I don't get the vibe that they're like hanging out all the time. You know, it seems to be just a little more there's something that causes us to be over here a little more individualistic. And I find myself like I have to kind of fight against that a little bit. Because I see it in myself. I see that there's just this tendency to kind of, just not value that connection as deeply as I think they do the further east you go. I don't know why that is. It's just an interesting development that I've noticed. I don't know. That's sort of a tangent.
Yeah.
Working with so many families at Tae Ryong, do you feel like you see Taekwondo bringing families together?
I do.
As they come to the studio, like a brand new white belt kid gets involved. I know for us and our kids, you know, it was initially just something like we just wanted our kids to get involved with something, whether it be swimming lessons or soccer, and it kind of about a month or two into it with our kids, at least, we kind of realized like, oh, there's something more here than just
Thank you.
than just an activity to do after school hours. What's your experience been with families and kind of that development you've seen throughout their process towards the black belt?
I may have done that on purpose. Like
it feels like it.
An intentional. I'm a very social person, and when I moved to Port Orchard, I didn't find that. And I missed that. I missed that in California. But in California, I lived on the military base, so you have that community. But coming up here, I had left that community, both from the military, because we didn't live on the base up here, and then also the Taekwondo community. And it just made me sad. You know, I was like, I'm a huge part of me is not being fed. So when I decided to open the studio, I was just so excited that people wanted to come and do Taekwondo. So you had a bond or a common ground that we started on. And I just wanted to get to know people.
How many people, when you initially started the studio, what was the first day like? First time you taught?
All right.
In
So
Port Orchard?
that was a journey. When I found myself getting divorced, I had been a stay-at-home homeschooling mom for like 20 years. And I was like, if I go back into teaching, I don't have anything to put on my resume for how many years. And computers came on the screen, you know, into the classroom before or after I left. So I was like, I think I need to go back to school. So I got my master's in human services counseling with an emphasis in life coaching. So
This is while you were going through the divorce process?
Correct.
Oh, man.
So as I would coach people and ask them if fear or failure were off the table, what would you do? I heard in my little ear, open a Taekwondo studio. And I kept kind of
You were asking people that question, but
Correct.
then that was the answer. Yep.
Yep.
If fear or failure were off the table.
If fear of failure were off the table, what would you do? Because it's fear that keeps us stuck in any journey that we're on. We have the fear of the unknown, the fear of failure, whatever. It keeps us from moving forward.
Totally.
And I kept hearing, open a Taekwondo studio. And finally I was like, if I'm going to be a good life coach, I have to at least walk through the process. So I started walking through the process, and I met a lot of resistance because I was thinking big and I needed to think smaller steps. So my first was, well, I guess I should back up. I did end up going back into the classroom. I started subbing, and then I was offered a job, and I started teaching. And I didn't want to spend the rest of my adult life.
That was just holding you over while you were working on it.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I started thinking big, and I was looking at, places in Silverdale. I looked at places in East Bremerton, and I just didn't have the finances to do it. So I found myself getting very discouraged, and I slowed down and reset my goals and decided maybe I'm going to just offer it in my garage. So I put on Facebook, does anybody want to start beginner Taekwondo in my garage? Let me know. And that was, I think, like January 1st. I put that out there years ago.
2012.
I think, no, because that's when I moved up. So 8 years ago, this past January.
Oh, okay, cool.
And
January 1st.
I had
Nice.
8 people who were mostly my coworkers.
That's a great time of year to do it. Everyone's
Right?
getting their New Year's resolutions going. Smart.
Yep. And
That's awesome.
So anyway, so from January until April, we met in my garage, 8 people. And then I saved the money that they paid me, and I rented the Olympic gym 2 hours a week, two different rooms. And so I started there and I grew a little bit. We had, I don't know, maybe 18 people.
Wow.
And then
Doubled.
I saved that money and then rented a place downtown Port Orchard and was there for 2 years. And because of COVID, like I probably would have stayed there. It was a cute little, studio, but the parking was an issue.
Right downtown Port Orchard?
Yes.
Oh,
well, on Bay Street. Not,
okay.
not,
I can't remember the name of the downtown.
yeah, not all the way downtown Port Orchard.
Just
but by the
little in.
laundromat on Bay Street,
Okay.
where it overlooked the water and then the shipyard. And I kind of loved that. It had the best sunsets. I mean, it was I loved the water, so I was able to look at the water every single day. It was beautiful. And I guess I grew maybe like 40 people.
Wow.
Not that bad, but between teaching school and doing that, it was kind of nice and everything. But COVID hit, and it was a small studio. So they put a lot of restriction on how many people I could have in the studio when we opened back up. So at that time, I borrowed money from my stepmom.
You can only take off your mask after you've been choked out.
Yeah. Well, we
Then you're
don't
not
choke
breathing.
people.
Oh, no. Oh,
Adam
sorry.
does.
Okay.
They hit people in the face with their feet.
Yes. Yes, we do.
My mistake.
Yeah. So
With COVID, did you do online teaching?
I did.
How'd that go?
That was awesome.
Okay.
It was
Taekwondo-
exhausting.
Taekwondo Zoom.
I did.
Wow.
I did. And that's where my teaching skills really became better. And as an educator anyhow, like I felt pretty comfortable with doing Zoom because we were doing that with school as it was. But I got to know people a little bit better, got to know their homes because the children who don't, and some adults who don't know their left from right, like I had to look at what was in their home and I was like, turn to the big chair, turn to the wood burning stove, and I don't know. I tried to make it fun. I did some videos that the parents could put on for the kids, and I don't know. I used it. I had to do well. Like I had rent to pay, and I had to think outside the box. And
Wow.
kids were stuck at school, and that made me sad. So
At what point then did you decide to move up to your current location up on Mile Hill?
when we reopened after COVID, and I would have been able to get maybe 3 students in my, at the time, current location. And I thought, this is going to kill my dream. Like I won't be able to do it.
So just because of the larger square footage,
Correct.
you were able to bring in more students? Okay. So, and how's that played out now? Like, was that a natural step into growing to what you are
I think
now?
it was.
So
think it was.
you moved to the larger spot during the lockdowns.
Not during the lockdowns.
Okay.
After the
After.
lockdowns.
Okay.
Like kids, we had already returned to school.
Okay.
Very modified school. I was at the middle school and we had A and B days. Students would come on A day and then they'd be home on the B day, and the B students would come on B day, but be home on the A day.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So you moved to the new studio, you're growing. What year was that? That was
21?
21. So you've been there since 2021. And I think we've been going since 23, probably.
Yeah, maybe I was there 22. I get not very confused. I lose the years and I think more about what has happened.
It was a blur.
But it was a blur. It was. And I was teaching school. Obviously, I just said that. But in August of 21, I broke my leg teaching summer school. And
How'd that happen?
it was the last day of summer school. We had a field day. and I was doing a teaching or leading the obstacle course, and I demonstrated, and I leapt to the right, and my foot hit a rock, and it just Joe Theismanned my leg.
It's got to be hard for a Taekwondo black belt. And
It was hard. I was on crutches for a year. I had 2 surgeries. It was challenging, but that brought out a different goal of developing a leadership team.
yeah.
So, and that is successful.
Yeah, you guys have a great crew.
Thank you.
At Tae Ryong. Everybody's very passionate.
Thank you, everybody. They are. It's amazing. I feel very, very blessed, humbled, honored.
Yeah, it's nice going there, and it with our kids, and it doesn't matter who's teaching. I know that it's going to be an incredible experience any day we go there. Doesn't matter who's teaching. So, so you're growing now at this point, and then at what point did the other part of your business, which is a learning center, right? So when did that come into play?
That came in because of my broken leg. Okay. It happened at work, so I was on L&I, and like I said, that was August. I was not able to go back to work until April. So I dealt with a little bit of depression at the beginning of it because of all, the COVID stuff, being unable to do anything. It was my right leg. I couldn't drive. So I was kind of stuck at home and stuck in bed. And I was like, I'm going crazy. Like, it was not healthy for me. So I had my husband start dropping me off at the studio. I was like, well, let me I'll go do some training, not training, Taekwondo training, but learning maybe how to run a business or learning, how to be a leader. I mean, doing some of my training for school. Right. I just needed to activate my mind a little bit more. Teach some of the
things that don't require kicking and
my
punching.
Physical,
right.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I kept looking at this huge studio that didn't open the doors until 3:00. And I was there from 8 until 3, and nothing was happening in there. My dog was running around. She loved it. And I was like, this is crazy. And one of my coworkers, she was like, maybe you should keep my kids and teach them.
That sounds like a great ploy from one of your coworkers.
It was. And that just activated another train of, a thought process of what I could do. Yeah. Being a certified teacher, she had told me that Washington kids don't need to be in school until the age of 8. So that's like 2nd grade. And I was like, well, I could teach that. I mean, I taught my kids. I taught my kids how to read, taught them all the foundations, and they're, amazing college educated children, productive citizens, So my oldest was like, Mom, you have a 4 for 4. Right there, you're, that's awesome. I was like, that's true. Thank you. So I just started to do that. And the Learning Center, that first year that I decided to do it, I think I had 5 kids.
And so what are you teaching? You're just teaching anything and everything?
I now have a preschool side, not a preschool. So I'm a learning center. It's not a full day thing.
It's state of Washington. It's just a learning center. Not a preschool.
Well, it is, because honestly, if I went over 4 hours, I would fall under different license and everything like that. So I keep it under 4 hours. But I have a preschool teacher, like the younger age preschool, and she does a phenomenal job. And then I teach kindergarten, 1st grade, and I'll tutor other things. It's morphing into different things where on Fridays, some homeschooling parents will bring their kids just to have a fun Friday, do art. Next year, we're going to have a Spanish teacher.
Wow.
Yep.
How many teachers do you have?
Well, goodness. So I pay one, but then others will come volunteer their time for, like one lady, she uses my studio to teach yoga. So she volunteers in the learning center, so she doesn't pay me for the studio for yoga.
Oh, wow.
So,
Well, that's a deal.
yeah.
And then you guys have incorporated Taekwondo into, you have like the homeschool group during that time,
I do.
right?
Yep. Well, not during that time. So when the learning center goes home at noon, I have a homeschool class that starts at 1 on Monday and Wednesday.
And we've never, because we homeschool, but we've actually never, I don't think I've ever been to that class with our kids. How many kids show up to that class?
I have, I think, 12.
Do you have a lot of like bleed over, like they come to that class and then they just roll into the evening?
Usually only one rolls over.
Okay.
Usually they use that for their time, which is why I kept doing it.
Is there any difference in the homeschool class in the early afternoon versus the later classes that I see in the structure and?
No, everything. Well, they're all belt level.
Okay.
So sometimes that can be a little bit challenging, but I have a couple ladies that come and they help with that. But that class is very well behaved. Mm-hmm. So it's a great class.
Well-behaved homeschoolers.
Yeah, they are.
I was not one. I don't know about you.
I am not. I am not the parent
either,
though.
Yeah, I was.
You were a homeschooler?
Yes. I bounced in and out, but yeah, for like the majority of the time I was homeschooled.
Yeah. All right, that checks.
You can't tell?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does Adam strike you as a homeschooler?
Well, I knew he was.
there you go. My wife was too.
You know, but he comes to the studio and he just sits there outside looking in the window
It's because I'm working.
Like an
on his phone.
homeschooler.
You know,
I'm usually, it seems like with what I do for work, all of my phone calls come in around like
Yes.
4 to 5:30 and like finishing up stuff from the day. So whether, I have my kids at Taekwondo or my son doing wrestling and jiu-jitsu, it doesn't matter where I'm at. I'm like always finishing up my day while
trust
they're
me, I get it.
doing
I was
their
meaning,
stuff.
he's not social. Homeschoolers aren't very social.
Right.
I'm just kidding. I made sure mine knew how to be social.
So what's your ratio right now, kids to adults? That's something I'm not used to seeing. We don't usually stay to see what the adult class looks like.
We have a great adult class. Our adult class is full, or not full. We can still have more, but we probably have 40, maybe 30 adults
on a regular basis.
on a regular basis.
How many of those? So it takes roughly 2 years to get a black belt. From
About 3.
3 years. So what's your finish rate look like? The kids versus the adults that you're teaching.
It's funny that you asked that, because yesterday I was like, I really need to start tracking that. I'm not a numbers person, so I need to ask somebody to help me with that. But my adults are sticking to it. The ones who don't either have a health issue that come up, or they move.
Yeah.
But the adults are making it to black belt.
Do you think a lot of adults that move, just in general with Taekwondo, if you move away from a studio, if you're in the military or something, do they pick up training someplace else usually, or is that, or is it
this one couple retired and they haven't done it, but they tell me all the time, we still go practice. They became black belts and then retired.
Yeah.
But they find themselves outside just doing it for practice.
Do you find a lot of people get to black belt level and then just stop, or do you find a lot of black belts that keep going and do more?
The goal is that they would do more, because everything up until black belt is just, it's too fast. Like you're learning something every single day. You get or you have to test for a new belt, hopefully every 3 months. And then you learn new curriculum for that next belt. And the real training happens after black belt.
Yeah.
You slow down a little bit, you fine tune a lot, you start helping teach, which helps you to become even better at your skills.
And then after black belt, there's different degrees of black belt. You just tested for fifth. You got your 5th degree. How many are there?
9.
How many 9-degree black belts are there out there?
Oh, I should check, but that's considered grandmaster, and it's definitely a lot fewer than 1st degree black belts.
Now, so like 5th degree black belt, how long, I mean, on average for people who become a 5th degree black belt, how long have they been training Taekwondo?
So I've been for about 19 years. I should, because of my leg, I didn't test as soon as I could have. So maybe I'll say 15, 16 years for 5th degree. Mm-hmm. I was a little obsessed with it.
Yeah.
I was. I am. I am. I was a competitive gymnast growing up, and as soon as my feet hit the mat for Taekwondo, I was sucked right back into it.
Wow.
It took me a bit I didn't think that Taekwondo was for me. It took a bit for them to get me out on the mat. My children, my oldest, he wanted to do Taekwondo, and I was like, okay, what is it? I didn't even know what it was. So, but he started on the military base in California, and then the instructor was taking a full-time position at Tae Ryong in town. So we followed him there. And as each of my kids started, I'm of the mindset that you don't quit what you start. And, so they needed to at least get their 1st degree black belt. And so they each started, and that's just what we ended up doing.
And you started right with your oldest?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
That's what it took me a little bit. Yes. Okay. So he started, and then my daughter was doing gymnastics. Her coach left, so she started 3 or 6 months after he did. And then my son Noah was doing t-ball, and I was going crazy, wondering how people have their kids in different sports. And so I was thrilled when he decided he wanted to start doing it. And then my youngest, Mason, he had no choice at that point, I just couldn't bounce around. I couldn't be that mom. Their dad deployed, a lot, and I could only be in so many places at one time, and that was one place. So
you guys all went together.
We did.
Nice.
We did.
I see that a lot, at least with us. It's easier for us with 4 kids to all do 1 or 2 things versus somebody's doing soccer, somebody's doing baseball, and you're just all over the place. Yep. So
I had a seasoned mom when my kids were young that her kids were like middle school, high school age, and they all did swimming. And I was like, how did you get them to all want to do swimming? She said, that's what worked for me. And I was like,
I said, you're all doing swimming.
Yes. And I thought, because I was a gymnast, I was like, well, I mean, that's just kind of rude. or insensitive. And then she was like, Kelly, they're not going to be professional, and they're not, going to the Olympics. We don't have the money. That's just not going to happen. So we want them involved in something. And I was like, oh. So when Taekwondo and all of that started to happen with my oldest, and the other 2 get, following into that, I thought, they're not going to be professional, and they're not going to the Olympics. I don't have the money for that. I knew that, because my parents didn't have it for me for gymnastics. And I thought, what a novel idea. Like, get them in something that is good, and Taekwondo is not just good for the body as far as, learning, as far as exercising. It does teach self-defense, but that is after a commitment of doing Taekwondo. Like, you can't go to Taekwondo, like Sarah can't go out and necessarily defend herself right now, but it also teaches the other aspects of how to keep yourself safe, developing confidence, developing awareness, those things. And so I thought, I'm going to get my kids going to keep them involved in this. And as I stood there watching them, I also stood there watching the adult class exercising while I was maybe having an energy drink filled with sugar. And I thought, why am I sitting here just watching these other people exercise? I'm here. I could be doing it. And I thought the only reasons I wasn't were all prideful. You know, I didn't want to exercise in front of people, and I didn't want to bow to these young male instructors. And I thought, you're an idiot. You're already bowing, because I wanted to lead by example for my children. And I thought, oh. So Valentine's Day, they did a special for moms. You know, moms could do the month for free. So I looked at 3 other moms that were there with me, and I was like, what do we have to lose? A little weight and pride. You guys want to do it for a month? And like I said, as soon as my shoes came off and my feet hit that mat, I was sucked into it. Like, I did not stop.
Wow.
Obviously, I didn't stop. Never pictured myself teaching it ever, just practicing. Never wanted to open a studio. But then in 2008, when the economy crashed, or I don't know if it crashed, but it definitely went down. The studio in California was a little bit struggling, and the manager couldn't get out onto the floor. So I was like, why don't you let me run the office, and then you can teach? And he jumped on that. So that's when
how you got
that's
into the
when I
business
got
of
my
Taekwondo.
feet wet with the business. And it was awesome. I never saw myself as a business person.
Yeah. I've noticed, you know, we were talking about getting all your family at once kind of involved in one thing. I've noticed for us, that was kind of our goal. And again, our goal was just to find an activity for our kids to do. But what we found very quickly, and, you know, I remember coming home and talking to Jessica about this, was it's not just an activity. There's so much more here going on for our kids' mental health and their development than just some activity that they do. All of my kids have struggled at some level with just being shy, just getting out in front of people, doing things that are hard. So you said, what did you say earlier? The thing talking in your ear, what was the?
Fear of failure.
Yeah. So that I see that with my kids and with so many other kids, and you do such a good job at helping kids overcome that. And it's, you know, it's something when I'm talking to other dads or parents, and if they confide in me that their kids struggle with that, the first thing I say is, you should check out Tae Ryong in Port Orchard, because it's helped our kids tremendously. I know Charlie was your standard COVID baby, right? The first 2 years of his life, he didn't go anywhere, didn't do anything. And he would not get on the mat with you initially. And now he's Mr. Confident.
Yep.
And it's been your process. It's been the Taekwondo and everything else surrounding it, not just the physical activity, but also the mental aspect of it that has really helped him. Do you have a lot of kids? Do you have a lot of stories like that?
Oh, yes.
Any adults?
Yes,
Yeah.
Actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to get out there and trust people to not ridicule you. You know, I mean, we're our own worst enemy completely. But the kids, I mean, I've had kids that, like, they would just sit and cry. They wouldn't take their socks off. One wouldn't take his shoes off, wouldn't talk to me, wouldn't key up, wouldn't do anything. And now they're out on the floor. Two are siblings. And when I look at them, it's like they're success stories.
Yeah.
You know, middle school girl, her dad and mom were like, she is so anxious. Like she won't do anything. And now, when does this air? She's going to be student of the quarter. Like, she has just blossomed, you know, completely. She wouldn't spar, you know, and now she's kicking people, and the last time, not hard, but like
We'll take that clip out of context for sure.
but she's doing it and she's smiling while she's sparring, her other friend. And I'm like, look at this. Like, you would not do this before at all.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think that's my counseling, life coaching, maybe being a mom, maybe being a teacher, I don't know, but that's the thrill that I get out of doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
When I taught in school, it was the children, the ADHD kids or the behavior kids. Those were my favorite, because I had issues growing up, and I was like, these kids have to know that somebody believes in them and that it's okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes, but it's what we do with those that matters. If we just say, well, that's who I am, that identifies me, then we need to change that mindset.
Yeah.
So.
It's kind of a breath of fresh air for my wife and I was seeing everything you just said, but something that I don't see anywhere else, and that's a teacher, somebody other than a parental figure, pushing kids, pushing them beyond
not pushing them physically.
Yeah, not physically pushing them, pushing them mentally beyond what they think that they can do, and you coach them through the process live in front of a bunch of people. I've sat there and watched kids try to break boards for 5-10 minutes in front of everybody while you and the entire studio is cheering them on, and they're crying and breaking down, but they get there. And it's inspiring to watch.
Thank you.
And that's why I'm preaching Tae Ryong to so many people in Port Orchard, trying to get their kids involved.
That's nice feedback, because sometimes I wonder, my husband's like, you're so mean. Like it scares me when you look at these kids and different things, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't do that when they first come in. Like when somebody first starts, I have to get to know them, and they have to get to know me, and they have to trust me. And I have to, like, even Sarah. I mean, Sarah's a very quiet, I know not at home.
Sarah is Adam's daughter.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Strong-willed, quiet.
Yes. But on the mat, you don't see that strong-willed Sarah the same. And, when I was getting her to break the board, I think the last time, and she was really struggling, it was like, all right, you've been here long enough, though. I mean, she's getting higher in the belts. We need to channel that, and she's taking a grasp of that and it's starting to connect and change her. So it's fun. I don't always do it perfectly, but I really try. I really try for the kids to not walk away feeling anything but better about themselves.
Yeah. And I think any parents in those moments that would think that you're being mean in that situation, I think that they maybe have some maturity issues that they need to work through, and maybe need to join the studio, because
I was one of those parents too, I agree. Like, I think that I learned an awful lot as a parent watching the instructors work with my kids and with other kids,
Yeah. I think being a parent is so easy to want to just jump in and just take the hard thing from your kids. But I know for me, watching somebody else force my kids to do burpees or push-ups, it makes me smile. I enjoy it.
So burpees, I try to make it funny, but it's to teach respect, because in martial arts, it's all about respect, yes, ma'am, yes, sir. And that is I don't know if you'd call it a quality, or that's just an aspect of our society that doesn't really exist much anymore. Yeah, it is. Yeah. And I'm not saying that in society you have to answer yes, ma'am, yes, sir, to everybody like that. But the respect aspect, looking somebody in the eyes. Everybody's on phones. They're not seeing facial expressions and how they've offended somebody or even how they've made somebody smile. So anyway, if they don't answer properly, they get 10 burpees. And they know that, and we give them a grace period to learn it, but we try to make it fun, like, oh, you get burpees, and I'm like, so you'll get stronger, and then you'll also remember.
Yeah.
But it does work. I mean, some of these kids who come in and they can be a little challenging, and if they're challenging for me, I know they're challenging for their parents. And I was thinking of this one little boy yesterday. I mean, when I first met this kid, it was hard for him to give me any attention. Now he does the whole class.
Wow.
The whole 45-minute class. And at the end of it, he had to do burpees at the very end. But no attitude, none whatsoever. Did the burpees after class and,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. It was, it's beautiful. Parents love it because they're being seen that their kids will rise to the expectation that parents have for them. So hopefully parents will start having higher expectations. And
I can see, I can't speak for all black belts in most martial arts that I come across, but if you run into a young black belt, so one of your black belts that helps teach frequently and comes in and out lately, I remember when we first started and I saw him, I was like, that guy's not even 18 yet. And like his mentality is that of, a much older person. And I'm wondering if it has to do with that, instilling respect into.
Are you talking about Mr. Noah?
Mr. B.
Oh, Mr. B. He's phenomenal.
Yeah. When Mr. Noah's awesome too.
Yes.
But, when we first started going there and Bennett was up there teaching, and it's just like, man, this guy's like stoic.
That's awesome. I can't wait for him to hear that. He, so Miss Chris is his grandmother.
His grandmother, yeah.
Right. So Bennett came to me. He had already trained at another studio. Great family, so already respectful, But he came to me, I think he was 15 years old, because I think I watched him go through driver's ed. 15, and I didn't have many black belts. So you use what you have, right? And so he just started to learn how to teach and everything. He got thrown into that, and just is a dynamic person. Yeah.
When he steps onto the mat, like you can tell a lot of the students that are not there yet, they, their chin gets a little higher. They want to please him.
Yes. Yep.
So he commands that respect on the mat, which is really cool to see at such a young age.
He does. I'm hoping that this is the avenue that he wants to go. We're talking about that.
Yeah.
So.
He's doing like the shipyard right now?
He is.
Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, see,
it's not for him.
Just do the Taekwondo thing, Bennett. Just do the Taekwondo thing.
Yeah, Bennett. Shipyard's not for you. He's phenomenal. When he graduated high school, it was very disappointing for me. A bittersweet moment. Proud of him for graduating, and I knew I was losing him.
Yeah.
So, but he's starting to tiptoe back in.
Yeah.
So, but it's nice. He did help me, get to the point where I am now. We're now developing a black belt program. I'm retaining black belts. Mm-hmm. They're becoming leaders. I've created that within the young kids that are black belts. I'm teaching them how to teach other people and really developing more of a leadership program, which is exciting.
Yeah.
What is... So, did Taekwondo originate in Korea?
It did, yes. So basically, the difference between Taekwondo and Korea, aside from a few ways that they do forms or whatever, their desire is to stay on their feet. Not go to the ground like jujitsu, but you stay on your feet and you kick and punch. Karate is the Japanese version. Taekwondo is the Korean version.
Okay. And what's it like, what would you say is the most basic explanation to learn Taekwondo? If you're like,
Come to me.
huh?
Come to Tae Ryong.
Come to
You'll
Tae
learn.
Ryong. Well, because it's so multifaceted the way that you've described it. It seems like there's not a part of your life that it doesn't affect.
Correct.
When you're learning it. And I'm just interested as to its origin story when you're talking about it the way you are. It's fascinating because as someone who, my mom put me through Taekwondo when I was just a little boy, so I remember going Ki-ai. But other than that, it's so long ago I don't remember what it was. And I know that she was doing the same thing that you were doing with your kids, which is like, I got to get these kids out of the house and doing something. But like, what is the actual function of Taekwondo? Like, it originated to serve people in what? Like,
in war?
In war.
I mean, it's for self-defense. It's for combat.
Okay.
But you also have to couple your knowledge or your skill with your mind and with your heart. Like, you don't want to fight everybody, right? You want self-control. So it is the whole person. I mean, you think of somebody with a gun. You don't just want anybody. You don't want kids picking up a gun. They have no idea what that is, and you have accidents that happen, right? So with Taekwondo, you also have to develop your character so that you use your skills for defense, you know, and not for attacking or controlling other people, bullying people.
Did it originate in like a military context?
Yeah.
Taekwondo in Korea.
Yes.
Oh. I mean, I guess that makes sense. I'm just realizing, hearing you guys talk about it, that there's so much that I don't know about it because the context that I wonder if is that how most martial arts started out?
I would imagine, yes.
Probably.
I mean,
that's what jiu-jitsu was. I mean, it wasn't like military function per se. It was like a Japanese, like kind of like judo. You know, it's a art form, but it's also a defense form.
I have found the beauty of the martial arts for me, especially. I didn't get into it until I was about 40, and I've learned something new every single day. To think that I have all the answers is not true.
Right.
Like I don't. And I just bought a book. It was delivered yesterday so that I can understand the practical applications of our forms, our taegooks, why we do all the movements. So another reason why people shouldn't quit after black belt. You know, black belt is like the first step. All the other belts, that was created, I think, by Americans. You know, the colors, because we need more feedback. We need more rewards or incentives to keep going with things. But the history of the white belt is, you got one belt. You got the white belt. Or the history of the black belt. I mean, you got the white belt that got darker through your training and eventually became black. You know, so now our color belts are those, stages of the white belt getting darker before it turns black. Yeah, but, and really for people to... I don't know. A belt was made to be worn, so when you get your black belt and it goes and sits on a shelf, are you really a black belt? You earned a black belt, but a black belt is meant to be worn. A belt is meant to be worn, and you will only learn more as you are a committed learner, committed student. So
yeah, well, and it's definitely a status thing in a culture that's occupied by people mostly like me who I don't have any experience in the martial arts. So when somebody tells me they're a black belt in anything, I'm like,
that's cool.
Yeah, okay, you're a black belt. That's the top of the heap, right?
Right.
And then you're like, no, there's 9 more degrees.
Yeah, I'll never get the 9th degree.
Yeah.
Like I will never get it. Like
Wow.
my body or my life will not allow me to get that. I probably would pass on or just physically be unable to get it.
Yeah.
So my next goal is 6th. I think age-wise and just physically, I think I can do that. If I don't, it's because
You broke
of
your leg.
my ankle.
So what are the hurdles that you have to, like the physical hurdles that you're looking forward to in achieving 6th degree?
Like, why would I, or what do you mean?
Well, you're saying that you're limited,
Got it. Okay. Just the jumping that you have to do. I'm not supposed to run or jump ever again because of my ankle.
That's hard in Taekwondo. That's hard in Taekwondo.
That is hard in Taekwondo. But I'm at a beautiful spot right now because I'm teaching. And I have young instructors, younger kids also, who I have taught, and I can tell them how to do something without necessarily demonstrating it. And if I need to demonstrate and I can't really explain what to do, I can find it on YouTube. And I can say, okay, this is what it needs to do, and their young, agile bodies are able to do it. So it's getting kind of exciting at the studio. We now have, I think, 19 leadership people, and that ranges from the children that are like age 8 up to like 50, 55. Yeah. We all function differently. So
yeah. So we're coming up on time here. Is there anything exciting coming up at Tae Ryong that everybody in the community should be aware of, or how can they get involved? Where can they find you? Where can you have your social media?
I do. Yes, you can. Tae Ryong Washington on Facebook as well as Instagram. We have a board breaking seminar on the 22nd. Black belt testing is May 24th. That would be a great time to stop in and just observe. You can come any day. I'm there every day. So stop by the studio, 1760 Village Lane Southeast. And I offer a week free for anybody who wants to give a try.
And happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Thank
and
you.
happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a big one.
Thanks for taking time out of your birthday to join us this morning.
Thanks for the opportunity.
And how do you spell Tae Ryong?
TAE and then RYONG, 2 different words.
Maybe we can get a link to put in the description.
We'll put a link in the description.
Yeah.
Spotify.
So Tae Ryong means constantly growing dragon.
Oh,
Yeah.
dang. Well, that's what dragons do, right?
I imagine. I don't know.
I've seen Lord of the Rings.
So that's what I named my learning center, Constantly Growing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So,
I like that.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly.
Thanks a lot,
Thank you,
Kelly.
everyone.
Appreciate it.